Hi, my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I'm back with another astrology video. This one is on the sign of Aries. Aries occupies the first sign, first house of the natural wheel of the zodiac. And Aries is a cardinal masculine fire sign. Its ruling mascot is the ram. And you've noticed the horns on the ram and how they're right here and the head lowers and then you better watch out. Kind of describing the way the Aries energy is. The ruling planet for Aries is Mars. Mars is known as all things mechanical, all things medical, and all things warring. So when you're looking at Aries energy, you might consider they could be a little bit argumentative. But going past that, let's talk about what it is to be an Aries, and let's talk about it on a soul level. Because what I'm trying to get people to understand when it comes to astrology is that we pick certain signs in order to experience certain energies. So when you hear in society that we should all be peaceful or harmonious or just love, that is true in the altruistic sense, but in the astrological sense, we all have a purpose to express. And the purpose starts with the sun sign that we're born under. And for Aries people, they are coming in with a need to be a self-starter. The first in a group of soul lifetimes is this lifetime, meaning Aries has spent, let's say, the last 4 lifetimes following a certain path, a path that they were supposed to follow. So when they crossed over the last time and they're getting ready to be born again or incarnate back down here, Aries says, or the soul of the person potentially considering being an Aries says, how can I push myself on a soul level to do something different, not be afraid of it, jump off a cliff without looking, not worry about what's underneath me, and just take action? So the other side says, you should come down as an Aries. Whether you be male or female, that is the basic natural instinct of Aries, is to move forward with the decisions that they make. It's on a soul level, it happens so that the person who's born under the sign can actually start to discover a different way of expression. So that tells you that just by the nature of the sign that you're born under, we all have very specific directions that we have in common with other people born under that sign. And Aries is very much a self-starter. They are the first ones in their family to do pretty much everything. So if you come from, let's say, a family who does A, B, C, and D, your Aries child is going to be the one that runs through the second story window, jumps down, runs across the street, and you're like, where the heck is that kid gone? Because the Aries kid is not going to follow the already designed structure of the situation they're born into. That's part of the karma of the Aries sun sign. Actually, Aries rising and Aries moon sign. So these people are to the extreme going down their own path. So when you tell an Aries no, just a tip for people out there, when you say no to an Aries child, you might as well just say yes, because they're going to do it anyway, and they're going to do it the way they want, and they're going to argue about it with you, and they'll probably win the argument. And you'll be like, why did I let the 10-year-old do that? Well, because he spoke to me and I understood what he said, so I had to let him do it. That's an Aries. Aries is, again, a masculine cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are the ones in the zodiac that actually start certain trends throughout the natural wheel. What that means is we all come in with a job, and a cardinal sign's job is to take action. So they are the ones that say, okay, let's implement this structure into the existing energy around us. And that is how an Aries sees their life. They may not word it that way, but that's how they see it. The women born under the sign of Aries have a masculine temperament, as do all the masculine fire signs. All of the women born under that, men and women, tend to carry some of the same attributes. If I were to describe it where we could all understand, if you remember that series Mad Men, and you remember the women who were the secretaries but really making a lot of decisions from behind the scenes, sitting there and keeping up drinking with the men and doing all of that, at the time they weren't allowed to step forward and to be equal counterparts, but they sure could be equal counterparts behind the scene, and that is an Aries energy. And even at the end of that series, one of the characters, female, wanted to start her own business. Very fire sign, and especially Aries by nature. So Aries runs off cliffs so many times. Just think about what I just said. They see a cliff and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And they just jump into things that they very often have an early first marriage, and then they end up finding a happier marriage the second time around because they're not thinking, they're just taking action. And it's usually because the soul has prompted them to take that action, because in the last lifetimes, several group of lifetimes, because remember, when you come in under the sign of Aries, you're coming in to start a new lifetime cycle. That's part of the soul karma with picking an Aries as a sun sign. You're starting a new soul karma. So when you start a new soul karma, you have to have the mindset of difference, or to change the mindset from the past. And since the soul carries all of the energy lifetime through lifetime through lifetime, sometimes it's really hard to let go of tradition on a soul level. So you would be born under the sign of Aries, and this would give you a different way of thinking, and an eclectic way of thinking, and an adventuresome way of thinking, and that is how you would pursue your life. Keep in mind though, with all of that self-starting and action, Aries tends to be very fearful. They will do it in spite of their fear. You will often hear them talk about their fear. That's why their fists are out here, or their heads are lowered with their little ram horns. I go like this. They're like, no, I'm peaceful. And then they lower their head, and you better run from them, because they're going to go right through the brick wall that you just put up for them. They will have no parts of that. So they will run it down like a tractor. They will run over you. They will ride rickshaw everywhere. It's really hard to stop them. However, it's really exciting to watch them when they come up with a creative idea, move forward. So your Aries people are your starters. They are the people that come into the room and go, wait, I think, and then they elaborate on this great creative strand of thinking, and they need somebody to help them implement it. They will take the action to start it, and then the other signs have to step forward to complete it for them. But they are the best idea and point people. Now let's go farther back on a soul level and talk about Aries and the early life of Aries. Since the sign is a masculine fire sign, all of the fire signs are masculine, and they all have issues with daddy, or the father image, or the paternal image, or authority in their early childhood. This is not a bad thing. It's just part of what they're working out in this lifetime. And keep in mind, whether you are male or female, this is applicable. So the Aries child comes into a home where they have to learn to speak up for what they want. Keep in mind, they often come in very sweet because they're kind of timid, because they know on some level, even when they're little baby 2-year-old Aries, they know that they're supposed to be doing something different in this lifetime, and there's a responsibility on a soul level. So they have that internally, but they come into a family. And of course, all of us people that have had children think our children are going to listen to us. I don't care what sign your children are, they're probably not going to listen to you. But either way, we think we're going to create this great family. We're going to be the best parents. Our kids are going to love us. They're going to be just like us. Okay, whatever. That's a thought, a fantasy perhaps. But the Aries child is coming in with this internal clock that says you have to go down this different path. And because they aren't really one to speak up in the first early years of their life, they are kind of pushed to the side. So this sets the Aries child up, remember, male or female, into a way of wanting to compete, to take action within the family structure. And since they align themselves with the masculine side, which is your father, they will become competitive. So you will notice the Aries child, let's say it's a little Aries boy, you will notice the little Aries boy child being, like, I'm the ruler of the house. I'm the person that does this. And you're like looking at a 5-year-old going, okay, sure, whatever. But that's the way they think. And as they develop and grow, that will be the conflict within the structure and the relationship between the Aries child and the father figure in the home, whether this be a stepfather, biological father, grandfather raising the family, doesn't matter. The Aries child will come in with this kind of competition. So when you speak to an Aries, they immediately come from a position of competition. They're like, I am better. That's what they say. I am better. And they could very well be better. Throughout their lifetime, they learn how to take this energy back through the actions they take, because they will take actions without thinking about it. So they will rush into it. That's an impulse problem. or it's just, you know, whatever. They're like, I want to do that, so I'm going to do it. And they will make mistakes. And the mistakes they make will humble them while directing them down the correct path. So they hate that, but they will continue to go down that path because they have to correct that energy so that they can stand up as the authority within the family unit. Now, extend the family unit outside of the childhood home. This is people we work with. This is people we live with. This is our future husbands and wives, our future families, and people in our community. So Aries is very much a leader, but the karma goes right back to the point that they are trying to be the authority within the family home and rise up against the father. Now, as they grow and develop in life, so after the age of 20, after the age of their Saturn return, at the age of 31, at the age of 42, when they get into their 50s, when they go on into their 60s, they will be balancing that competitive nature, and they will understand how to kind of let that sit, because they will be then operating off of their opposition, which is Libra. So keep in mind, Aries occupies the first house. 6 months ahead on the astrological wheel is Libra in the 7th house. So anybody who has an Aries personality actually has to learn to be their opposition. We all have to learn our oppositions, but for Aries, it's especially difficult because Aries is like, no, this is what I'm doing. And Libra is like, how do we balance this? You just yelled at me, but how do we balance this? And so it's a give and take. And Aries is used to dominating. So early in life, they are very forceful. I mean, they're forced to be reckoned with, but it's natural for them. I want you to understand there is nothing wrong with an Aries person. If you look at someone's chart and you're like, why the hell are you so angry? Stop yelling, you angry, angry person. And you're like, God, they should just be peaceful. So let's say you're an Aquarius and you're living with an Aries and you want the Aries to be peaceful because you're trying to meditate, you're an Aquarius. So the Aries person, rising or moon sign, is not peaceful. That is not necessarily bad. We make a judgment, and the judgment is actually inaccurate because each sign comes in with a certain temperament, and that temperament is designed to propel the energy of that sign. So Aries actually learns and becomes positive through the anger that they feel through certain circumstances and situations. So you can't really judge it as a bad thing, but people do. They're like, no, anger. I think the way we would want to word it is, if any emotion is helpful in the soul's development, then it is well worth it. Remember, we're here for the experience. We're not here to be in line and labeled like other people. We are here to express ourselves uniquely, and that goes for our astrological sign, moon, and rising as well. So if you have Aries sun sign, moon, or rising, you're going to find your nature has a little bit more of an aggressive temperament. You're a little bit more like out there with it. But you've also come to start a new cycle in this life. So an Aries person is going off trend for the family unit and community that they incarnated into, were born into, and they are going in a different direction. And that different direction needs a strong, fearless leader, even though they have fear underneath. They will not act like it and they will not give in to it. And that is what Aries is. Also, keep in mind with Aries people, because they are first to do something, these are your inventors throughout history. These are your people that go up for medical tests. These are the people to get the first things of this. Aries, they might be an Aries rising. It could be another sign and they're an Aries rising, but they are your inventors. They are your creators. They are the ones that start with the idea and give it to the other signs to follow through with. So Aries is a really, really awesome sign, I think. They annoy a lot of other people. And when you live with them, they can be annoying. I have an Aries cat. I have a house full of Aries, but I have a kitty cat who's an Aries. She's really bossy, especially about food. She's like, feed me. And it's 6 times a day. And it's like, make me. That's what I feel like saying to her. I'm like, make me feed you again. And she gets into this cat brawl with me. Anyway, she's a little Aries. It's okay. I can handle the energy because I'm a fellow fire sign. So having said that, keep in mind with Aries and their ruling planet of Mars, if you have strong Aries in your chart, that is, again, the sun, the moon, or the rising, you want to look to see where Mars is placed in your chart, what sign it's in, and you also want to see, all of us, you want to take your natal chart and you want to see where Aries is positioned in your chart. Are you an Aries rising? Does Aries hit your 9th house? Does it hit your 7th house? Does it hit your 8th house? Is it in your 12th house? Wherever that Aries is where you're starting a new karmic cycle in this life. And you have a strong, aggressive nature connected to it, even if it is in the 12th house. So I want you guys to research that and learn more about Aries. I will be back with another video on the next fire sign, which is Leo. Once again, my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com.